Hey my Patriot friends, welcome back to Colonial Girl Liz. Before we get into today's video, make sure to comment, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to my YouTube channel, turn on your post notifications so you get notified when I post a new video. I post every Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. Let's get started with today's video. 1775, The Midnight Ride. I got this book when I was 10. I was born March 7th, 2007. I got this December 25th of 2017, so I was 10 and I'm now 14. So yeah, as you guys know, I really love American history, especially the colonial days. So here is Paul Revere and the Redcoats, and here is the cover, the jacket. It's called The American Story. It's 100 True Tales from American History. So let's get started. 1775, The Midnight Ride. Boston had been simmering for years, like a kettle of water heating up to boil lobsters. The British were taxing Massachusetts and the other colonies to death. Taxes on newspapers and legal documents, taxes on tea, even taxes on dice. And what's more, the colonists weren't allowed to elect their own representatives to decide how those taxes should be spent. Oh no, Britain was treating the colonies as though they were naughty children. But the colonies were all grown up and they weren't going to take it anymore. The Sons of Liberty had been meeting secretly for months in taverns such as the Green Dragon in Boston's North End. The rebel group was making dangerous plans, plotting against the king. This was treason. Now the rebel leaders, John Hancock and Samuel Adams, were hiding in Lexington, just outside Boston. They were trying to keep out of jail and away from a hangman's noose. Their network of spies, the Committee of Safety, kept watch on the British troops garrisoned in Boston, watching, waiting, and stockpiling their muskets in the countryside. Every patriot not already in the militia was made part of the Minuteman Army, the rebel soldiers who would be ready at a moment's notice to fight for liberty. Minutemen. That's the vocabulary word there, Minutemen. So, all right, let's continue with this story. Paul Revere was one of the leaders of those spies. From his silversmith shop on North Street, he kept an ear to the ground and an eye to the comings and goings of hated redcoats. He loitered around the garrison, stopping the British officers. His spies had learned that the British troops had been issued the order on April 15th to stand ready for action. Soon the soldiers would try to capture Adams and Hancock, seize the Patriots' weapons, and make their move crush the upstart colonists of Massachusetts. It would be Revere's job to make sure that the Patriots weren't taken by surprise and that the leaders of Sons of Liberty didn't lose their liberty. But how would he get out of Boston to warn them? The Redcoats had figured out that the best way to keep the colonists in the dark was to keep them from communicating with one another, and that meant isolating Boston, the serpent's nest of revolution. British soldiers guarded the narrow road that connected Boston to the rest of Massachusetts. British ships blockaded the harbor. Another warship was anchored in the narrow entrance of the Charles River, keeping a lookout on the ferry route. There had to be another way. Boston was in a big town, but it was a pious one, and its skyline bristled with church steeples. If the rebels could arrange a secret code, one lantern hung in the church bell tower or lanterns that could spread the news far and near at a moment's notice without having to leave town. Sure enough, on the night of April 18th, 1775, the whisper sped from one Boston patriot to another. The British are moving. The Redcoats were mustering on Boston Common and readying the troop transferred to Brebeuf for a water crossing to the mainland. They actually said the regulars are coming. The regulars are coming, just so you guys know. At 10 o'clock, Revere hurried to Christ Church, high atop Copp's Hill. There, the sexton was waiting for his soldiers, for his orders. Hang 2 lanterns in the belfry, Revere told him. This was the signal that the Redcoats were going to row across the Charles River to Cambridge and advance from there toward Lexington. A full moon was rising. The air was still damp from a spring rain as Revere strolled dark alleyways, keeping his ears open to the sound of a patrol. Lost my place. Citizens were under curfew, and he couldn't afford to be caught this night. At the riverbank, not far from the ferry landing, his friends Josh Bentley and Tom Richardson were waiting with a rowboat. I've got to get over the river and spread the warning. The Redcoats are looking to arrest Adams and Hancock, he told them. Out on the river, the warship HMS Somerset was silhouetted against the moon. The rowers flipped past with muffled oars, dipped and pulled right through the shadow of enemy ship to Charlestown. Already, patriots on the opposite shore were preparing for battle. They hadn't seen Revere's signal lights in the church steeple. A Charlestown merchant, loyal to the cause, loaned Revere a horse, and the silversmith set out on one of the most famous nighttime rides in American history, the Midnight Ride. The British were not far behind him. Crossing the Charles River in troop boats from Charlestown to Lexington rode Revere, pounding on farmhouse doors all along the way. "The British are coming! Arm yourselves, Minutemen!" he shouted. From hay lofts and root cellars, from underneath feather beds and inside empty butter churns, out came the muskets. The Minutemen were ready for war. "Adams and Hancock, rouse yourself! The troops are coming for you!" Revere warned the rebel leaders and spurred his horse on for Concord. "The British are coming!" These are the pictures. By the time Revere's midnight ride was over, there wasn't a patriot in the countryside who wasn't prepared to face the British from behind a musket. When the sun rose on the morning of the 19th of April, British troops marched into Lexington and found a force of armed rebels waiting for them. With the firing of the first shots of the American Revolution had begun. Note, 2 years earlier, Revere, Sam Adams, and the Sons of Liberty dressed up as Mohawk Indians and raided 2 ships of the British East India Company in Boston Harbor, throwing the cargo overboard to protest high taxes on tea. This episode is known to history as the Boston Tea Party. For other protests, see 1846, 1900, 1955, and 2000. Alright, this is the picture of Revere riding. So, actually, Revere had William Dawes help him. He was like the other express rider, but Revere did not make it to Concord because he got stopped by 3 British officials, and you can go and see that in Concord, Massachusetts. Well, it was Lexington at the time, but I think they switched it to Concord, or I don't know if they even knew it was Concord, but yeah. But that's all for today's video. Make sure to comment, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and turn on your post notifications so you get notified when I post a new video. I post every Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. Peace out, my Patriot friends.